In the 2011 journal article, When Nature Rebels, International Migration, Climate Change and Inequality, Marchiori and Schumacher state that very often the only hope left for people is to move away from the uninhabitable area to one that might give them better living conditions. Hello, my name is Natalie. Climate change is serious. Everyone will be affected and many are already affected. Extreme weather events due to climate change happen more and more frequently close to my home in Germany. Floods and especially wildfires. Today I'm going to talk about migration due to climatic changes over the course of history, 3 reasons for climate migration in our today's world, and 1 effect of climate change on the mapping of our world. But first let's start with the reasons why humans migrate due to climate over the course of history. While humans have been migrating since the beginning of history, there are various reasons for why they relocated. And one of them is the climate. There are so-called push and pull factors. Push factors are factors that push people out of an area or region. Grönewald describes in her article Early Human Migration from 2017 that with regard to these early human migrations, rather think of stuff like the climate taking a turn for the worse in turning places into huge ovens or freezers where barely anything can live or grow, or natural disasters. Pull factors, on the other hand, are factors that pull people to a certain area or region because the climate is better over there or there are better or more food options or resources. To give you a more concrete example, there was a time when the climate told much colder and more arid in North Africa and Eastern Europe, which was most likely the reason for why many people relocated to Southern Europe. Another example, in the article Human Migration, Climate and the Peopling of the World from 2016, De Menocal and Stringer explained that between 12,000 to 5,000 years ago, the vast Sahara was nearly completely vegetated with wooded grasslands, permanent lakes and rivers. The region was alive with people and cultural activity until about 5,000 years ago, when the monsoon rains weakened and retreated as a result of the changes in Earth's orbit. Archaeological records document a massive and rapid depopulation out of the northern African interior. Now that I have talked about migration in early human history, let's look at the reasons for why people migrate in our today's world. While people still migrate today, but since the world has changed and since we live in a more globalized world, the reasons are a little bit different. And this is because of the climate crisis. The climate has already changed in the past, but now it is more extreme. There are severe, unpredictable and destructive weather events, so the climate changes much faster. The first example for why people migrate is because of increased temperatures and droughts, which turn regions into uninhabitable deserts. Another reason is the rise of the sea level, which directly affect people who live in coastal areas. In a 2008 report from the International Organization of Migration, Hugo describes that almost 2/3 of the world's population lives within 100 kilometers of the coast, and 30 of the world's largest 50 cities are located on the coast. The potential for population displacement from a significant rise in sea level is considerable. Lastly, another reason is for climate migration are extreme weather events. For example, heat that causes wildfires, also changes in rainfall patterns, floods, hurricanes, and tsunamis. Now that I have told you about the reasons for human migration in our today's world, let's look at my last point, which are the places that are going to be mostly affected by climate change and the places from which many people are going to migrate from. First of all, it is important to say that climate migration is already happening. Many people are already leaving their homes and looking for more livable areas. I will focus my last point on climate migration due to sea level rise. This first image shows a map of the sea level rise worldwide in the future. We can see that especially Southeast Asia is going to be affected, but also coastal areas in Europe and in the Americas. Some island nations are going to disappear completely. Coastal areas worldwide, such as Cancun, Buenos Aires, Sydney, Venice, London, Hamburg, and Copenhagen are going to be affected directly by the rise of the sea level. In this image, we can see the sea level rise, which will affect the United States in the future. So here we have a map of the United States, and we can see in blue the coasts that are going to be affected of the United States, which are basically all the coasts. And in red, we can see the areas where many people are probably going to migrate to. So as we can see, major US cities such as New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Miami, New Orleans, and Houston are going to be affected by the rise of the sea level. Lastly, I have an image of a map with the future most livable areas despite climate change. And those areas are located around the North Pole. So here we have the North Pole, and those areas include Canada and the northern United States, the northern European countries, as well as Russia and Siberia. The question now is, are those areas safe from severe weather events and drastic climatic changes? According to a journal article by Ketola from 2015, they are affected by extreme weather events such as storms, hurricanes and tornadoes, floods and droughts, but not as severely as in the southern parts of the world. Their temperatures will rise, but not as high as in the south. Many of the northern coastal areas will probably become uninhabitable, but the northern inland areas may remain inhabitable for the longest on the earth. This rise in the sea level will result in a relocation of millions of people worldwide. After I have shown you some images with concrete examples of how the climate will probably affect the map of our world, let's sum up all the information that I have given you today. Today I have informed you about climate-driven movements throughout history, climate migration in our today's world, and a possible or probable remapping of the world. Many areas will become uninhabitable, and people are going to look for places that give them better living conditions. After we have covered the migration of humans due to climate change, I hope that you have a better idea of the reasons why humans migrate in the past and now, and of the regions where people are going to migrate to and from. My name is Natalie, and thank you for listening.